stepping in on Elite. And you can go ahead and move forward. Just FYI, once the raid gets started, there's a lockout. Not far from the entrance, there'll be a blue barrier that comes up, so you never want to detour in this raid, because you would be locked behind that blue barrier. There's 2 mobs to fight before we get to what is traditionally used as the staging area. Just a devil.
This is the door, Ginger.
A bearded devil and the Orthon. Yeah, it's back there in the hall leading up here. So right where I'm at is where we want to gather for buffs. The raid won't start until we pull a lever down the hall. Okay, let's get some party buffs. And if this is your first time, or if you're so inclined, you can come down here to the end of this hall, and there's a little like cutscene that you can watch. So in the storyline, this is supposed to take place after Shroud. We kick Eretrikos' butt, and Eretrikos is now aiding us. There's the judge and Eretrikos, and then the jailer will appear. The judge and the jailer are the bosses of part 1. And then Horoth will appear as well. He's the boss of he's the final boss. We won't see Sulamades again until the end fight. He's the right-hand man of Horoth. Horoth and Eretrikos are pit fiends. That's Eretrikos there, the boss of the Shroud. The judge is a horned devil. The jailer is an Orthon, and then these are Orthons around here. Most of you know that already, but just in case there's anybody new. And Eretrikos gets turned into mini Eretrikos. I'm such a nerd. I hope you're just not now discovering this, Ulbelk. So Horoth just imprisoned Eretrikos, and we're actually going to go bust him out right now. We will be down there in a little bit in that room that you see down there. We're going to be traveling right through there a couple of times during the raid. Okay, so now we're going to go back up the hall and make a left. This door opened now, and we're going to fight some devil trash mobs on our way to part 1. There's 3 parts to this raid. Like I said, it'll be very, very easy because this is just an upper heroic raid. So it's going to be basically just a walkthrough. Now this raid does have its old school design. There are areas you can fall into where you can't get out. And right here is an area that if you fall down in that lava, there's no way back up. And you can't detour because then you'll be trapped behind the barrier. So you have to just not fall into the lava basically. Okay, you pull this lever here, and that's going to go to part 1. And then up the stairs from this platform is actually part 2. So we'll be coming right back here after part 1. So go down the ramp now. And then you're going to fall down the pit. There's nothing on the other side. It's just a locked door. Just fall down the pit. The spikes on the side will not hurt you. And once you get to the bottom of the pit, don't move. This is part 1. And you're going to see the judge and the jailer up ahead, and mini Eretrikos locked in a little magical prison cell thing. And so once we step forward, the judge and the jailer will activate. The jailer, or the judge has the ability to like fling you across the room. And back in the olden days when the level cap was 20, that was terrifying because you would get knocked into the corners. and into the walls where there's a bunch of spikes. If you look around, you'll see that the corners and the walls have spikes. And, you know, back when we all had, you know, 300 hit points, those spikes were extremely deadly. But by today's standards, they're not a big deal. In any event, if you look to the right, for example, it looks like there's like a garage door there. That'll open up a little cubby, and there's one behind us. There's one to the left side as well. And so it can be helpful to fight the judge in there. We'd be standing in lava, but, you know, this is like 20-year-old lava, so it's not a big deal. And the reason why it's nice to stay in those cubbies is because that way when the judge throws us, we just hit the ceiling and bounce right down instead of getting tossed all the way across the zone. Now, traditionally, you would have ideally 2 tanks, where one tank would take the judge and one tank would take the jailer, or like maybe the party would take the jailer over the corner and the tank would hold the judge until the jailer was dead. That's how we traditionally would do it, but by today's standards, you know, we're so over level for this, we could just kill them however we want to. There's going to be some trash mobs of fire elementals and hellhounds that spawn, but like I said, this is going to be super easy by today's standards, so let's go. You want a garage door that looks like that? That opens up sideways? Oh yeah, there are some spinny blade traps too. Just go ahead and beat on the judge and the jailer at will. If you die in this part, you cannot be raised until the judge and the jailer are dead. If you die, your soul stone will get put inside this prison here where I'm standing and jumping up and down. So, at the end, there's a lever that we pull that will open up that jail, and soul stones will be let out. But before the end of this part, if you die, you are stuck in there. So, oh, did we kill the judge and the jailer already? Damn, that was fast. All right, so now we're pulling the lever up top, which releases Eretricos from his prison. And since we helped him, he gives us the password to the next part, which is Eberron Burns. And now we can go to the northeast corner. There's a shrine if you'd like. There's some chests. No named loot from these chests. Shrine up if you like. Crazy Trickster, good morning and welcome. Yeah, I'd like to see them add a bunch of stuff to the VIP bag of many things, or better yet, just give us everything in it. I don't think that's going overboard. Alright, there's a little secret door to search out here. I can't remember, but these sets are not really relevant by today's standards. But yeah, there was there's 2-piece sets here that were like level 18, I think. And it was like ring and belt or ring and necklace. This is that same pit that we fell down with the spikes to go to part 1. Now it has a flame barrier over it. We're just coming in from the other side. Now we're going back.
Yeah, I have several barbs I have the sets on, and some rogues that have the Thief Acrobat set or whatever. But
oh, okay. Yeah, those are really, really popular sets back in the day. Again, if you fall into lava here, you can't get out. Be really careful when you go up these stairs because they're like beveled and they can kind of push you off if you're not careful. And this is the entrance to part 2. If you've done the raid Killing Time before, you may recognize this because this is where the shadow part comes from, is part 2 of Tower of Despair. So what we're going to do here is we're all just going to run up to the, straight ahead up the stairs, and then you're going to fight Netherios, the Shadow Master. And then I'm going to stay at the bottom of the stairs to grab the aggro of the shadows so they don't get up to the party. But because these are just heroic shadows, they wouldn't really do that much damage. So maybe we should just let the shadows get up there so you can see. Not to be confused with killing time. Those shadows can be very deadly because that is legendary content. The shadows just do cold damage when they move through you. So if the shadows get up here, you want to try, like, don't move around as much. If you can, just like power heal through it. Just fight everybody, fight Netherios. The shadows go down super quick, but back in the day when the level cap was 20, this was, this whole raid was really tough even on normal. But you can see we beat Netherios down in seconds. Those shadows keep coming. At one point you beat them down, they go away, and then more come out. But by today's standards, he gets beat down so fast that you don't even have to worry about the shadows. And we're so over level too. But if you ever did this at level, you might want to have somebody kite the shadows by grabbing their aggro and running around, or have somebody tank them. They can put like a firewall or something at the base of the stairs, or an ice storm or something to grab the aggro. And the secret of tanking the shadows, if you will, don't click through the portal here, please. Very easy to click on it by mistake because the shrines are right there. Help yourself to the chest. You can get some named loot here. It's the same stuff that drops from the flagging quests. So it's the necklaces and the belts. If anybody sees a necklace or belt that they want, please say so. There are some nice clickies. There's a Greater Heroism clicky, Jump clicky, and some other stuff too, Invisibility clicky. So if you see anything you like, please say something. I'm overdubbing here for a moment because I forgot to mention that sort of the trick to tanking the shadows is you want to make sure that you don't move. As I mentioned, the shadows do damage as they move through you or you move through them. So the more you're moving, the more damage, the more ticks of damage you're going to take. So standing still is clutch if you're going to choose to tank the shadows, and just have like a red fire shield or high cold absorption, and you should be just fine. You can also use this same tactic in killing time when you're tanking the shadows in there, if you choose to tank them instead of kite them. Make sure you have your anchoring item on right now, because Horoth can actually aggro on us as soon as we step through the door. There are some abilities, and I want to say it's like one of the some of the auras, like the aggro grabbing auras, like the Favored Soul has, and the Warlock Enlightened Spirit. I forget what that's called, but I think that aura can actually make Horoth aggro on us like the moment we step in. He's not supposed to aggro us on right away, but I think those auras do make it sometimes happen. And there's kind of a bug, like when he does aggro on us right away, it's like he's there and fighting us, but he's invisible and we can't hurt him. It's really weird. So if you ever see that happen, he will appear as normal after the dialogue is over. Yeah, I mean, the blasphemy, he can do that at any time. I've seen people get banished the second that we step in here. That's why I always tell people, put it on, right away. But you're not going to get banished as long as you have will saves of 64 or higher, and you don't fail on a roll of 1. So a lot of players aren't even going to get banished even if they don't have an anchoring item, because saves are so high by compared to what this was designed for. Okay, go ahead and step in, but don't move. I got spell absorption. All right, so once we step forward, you can see Horoth up there on his perch. There's the Devil Council, and there's going to be a funny dialogue where basically they're shaming Horoth for letting invaders in Amrath, and then Horoth is like, they're here, and they're all like, this is your mess, you clean it up. So if you want to watch the dialogue, check it out. Back in the day, also, if there were people that didn't have protection against the banishment, what you would do is just send them into like a far corner, because the blasphemy effect is just an AoE around Horoth. You call this command, your incompetence has allowed mortals to invade our home. They're here. And then Horoth says, well, what are you waiting for? Kill them. And then they laugh at him. This is your mess, General. You clean it up. And then they poured away. I love it. I've always loved this dialogue. All right, traditionally the tank would pull Horoth. If you could tank it in the traditional spot, just for, you know, because people might want to do this at level. So traditionally the tank would go and back up between two of the thrones, and then the party would beat on Horoth from behind. He will curse you, he will disease you, and he will give you a poison as well. Go ahead and beat on Horoth. Sulamatis will appear once he is at, like, I don't know, 50 or 70% health, I can't remember. Sulamatis is technically... What is it?
50.
50. Okay, thank you. So we will break off from Horoth and beat on Sulamatis when he appears, but Sulamatis is just an optional. If you were just to straight kill Horoth, Sulamatis actually runs off and ports away. There's Sulamatis, the star of today, so go ahead and beat on Sully. Traditionally, he would be pulled in a back corner so people weren't getting hit by Horoth's blasphemy, but we're going to beat him down so fast it doesn't matter. If you had an off tank, you know, back in the day, this would be, you know, good. This was definitely a good raid to have 2 tanks for. Alright, now we're going to beat down Horoth. There are portals in the back. The portals do respawn, but that's where trash spawns from. It's never, in my opinion, been worth it to beat down the portals, because the portals just respawn anyways. And that is Tower of Despair. Congratulations if it was your first. Because we beat down Sully, we got an extra chest. There's these things called Shavrath Trophies of War. That's to upgrade the rings, to give them the extra stat. But by today's standards, these rings aren't very good anyways. But if you wanted to. And the way
but didn't they get rid of the Henshin Mystic?
I'm not sure. But if you wanted to upgrade these rings, you would do that at the second Shroud altar. So you could do that in the Shroud.
Well, I thought the Dragon Disciple kind of replaced that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The Henshin Mystic still exists in the game, but if you're asking about the set, I have no idea if that's still there. I think it's still there. But Dragon Disciple does, I believe, replace Henshin Mystic. If you play a Dragon Disciple, that's the enhancement tree that gets replaced. Any questions about Tower of Despair? Also, there's a buff, or excuse me, a debuff or dot that Bolo Grub has. It's called, like, I forget what it's called. But you're going to keep taking damage until it times out. Metal of Cruel Pain.